Going live today, 4 o'clock on a Sunday with a temperature of 75 in beautiful Orlando. What am I doing? Well, cleaning, but I told the wife, I was like, look, give me a couple hours to go online and BS around and talk about gaming and maybe get some gaming stuff done. And then as soon as I'm done with that, I will be all yours. I'll be mopping floors and scrubbing toilets and all that sort of thing. And she was like, okay, cool. Which I mean, what else is she going to do? Is she going to be like, no, you do it now? No, of course not. My wife's a sweetie pie. She'd never do that. So, man, I've got so many things to do. And I'm like totally breaking my own rules here because I've yet to open a single box. I'm sorry if it's shaking. I've yet to open a single box of Blood and Plunder, and yet I've built 5 ships for it. So that's just showing off my love of modeling. I do love to model. Howdy, nerdy ogre. How are you? But yeah, I do absolutely love to do a little modeling, and right now I am working on a new one, but I'm going to have to either go to the local Home Depot or Hobby Lobby or just order online, because this particular boat did not come with okay, there we go. Yeah, this particular boat did not come with any masts or anything at all. And the wooden dowels that I currently have are just a bit too big. So I'm going to have to carefully measure. I'll show you what we got. This is a brig or brigandine, right? Now, I'm really happy with like what the boat looks like. And like if you take a little bit of liquid green stuff and put in there, hero, and then you texture it up, you can't see where this is actually 3 pieces put together. This, of course, is where the captain will stand, right? And we got his lanterns on. So we're going to have the big mast here and the little mast here and the 4 mast here. And we're going to have our cannons, 4 to a side, small cannons. However, the only small cannons I currently have, which I need to paint the barrels on, are for the bark that I recently built. So I will have to, hey, James, I'm going to have to get some more of those. And now, luckily, they're pretty cheap. You can get off of the actual Blood and Plunder webpage. Desperately needed cleaning or jump on. Well, I know after this chat, I will be doing the cleaning. I mean, I did a bunch of stuff before, but then, like the other day, I was out in the yard digging up freaking sprinkler heads and, replaced them because our lawn people, who I love to death and I would never want to trade, but they got big ass mowers. And if they run over a sprinkler head, right, and it doesn't have the stone ring around it to protect it just perfect, they push it into the ground and sometimes break it. Not their fault, not blaming them. And thankfully, I've worked in the water department as a plumber and everything, so that, fixing sprinkler heads is like simple, barely even an inconvenience, right? But it's still not something I wake up and be all like, damn, you know what I wish? I wish I could. Hey, what's up, Big Vic? How you doing, bro? I wish I could go out in the yard and dig up half of the yard so that I can replace, you know, half-inch or quarter-inch broken PVC all over the damn place. Because usually the sprinklers are fine. It's the connection where there's the 90 down there. When they push down, that shit snaps. But not that most of you need to know this. Just be aware that PVC pipe gets really brittle after a decade or so. And so your boy has spent plenty of time, probably years worth of time, digging up and replacing PVC. I mean, usually all you got to do is cut off about a foot where it broke, cut off a bit before the break and a bit after the break, and then glue two couplings in and a length of PVC pipe. Waiting on the Vikings and Packers game to start. Wow. I haven't waited on a football game to start since '89. And that would have been the Chiefs, because boy, did I love to watch Christian Okoye just run people to over. Hell, the Chiefs have been winning Super Bowls, and I'm not even watching the games because Taylor Swift took all the fun out of it. You know what I mean? It's like I've been a Chief fan since '88 or '89, and I've got the jersey, I've got, the old school bullshit, all that. And yet, just knowing that Taylor Swift is showing up to their games and stuff kind of makes me want to root for someone else. I mean, is that a fair thing, to despise someone that much? PX, you can do that if you use like a coupling and then, like a compression coupling. But if you're only replacing that much PVC pipe, there's no reason to use poly pro or anything like that. Now, if I were going to dig up the whole system, yeah, I'd want to use probably blue 1/2-inch or 1-inch polypro pipe. Blue, of course, because that's potable water. And you just need some compression fittings and you're fine. Is football still a thing? For some people, but it's not like it used to be. Like when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, football was like the thing everyone was like crazy about, Tuesday and Sunday. What's up, Off Grid? How you doing, homie? Now it's like most of the people I know, and maybe it's because I live in Florida, they're a lot more interested in like NASCAR. Hey, Jose, how you doing, homie? But yeah, they're a lot more interested in NASCAR. Like when I went to my friend's Christmas feast, her Christmas feast, which was good. That's all they were talking about. And I was just sitting there feeling stupid because I don't know much about NASCAR either. And they're all like, what do you know about NASCAR? And I'm like, you take a lot of left turns? And they were just laughing at me, clowning me a little bit. They're like, there's more to it than that. I said, the last time I thought anything about NASCAR, we're talking Richard Petty and the baby blue Plymouth Roadrunner, right? I mean, I know I'm aging myself there, but these people are talking about all these different racers and all this stuff. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, Jose, I am not talking shit about NASCAR. It is yet again one of those brilliant things that was invented in the South. And it actually comes from bootleggers wanting to race their freaking sleeper cars to see who had the most badass rev runner. You know what I mean? Car to outrun cops and revenuers. That's where NASCAR comes from. You know what I mean? A lot of people may not know that, but Thunder Alley, NASCAR without NASCAR brand. I've seen some really cool board games. One of them is like F1 racing, and like the whole board, it's got double-sided board, and it's got the different layout like Monte Carlo or whatever. and it's got the numbers and stuff, and everybody gets to start with a little different colored plastic F1 race car, like you roll dice to try to do, go around turns and not get rocked off the freaking table.
What are you doing?
Well, well, well. Look at this morose muff over here. Boing.
Look like somebody done pissed in his cereal.
I was talking about NASCAR and how I don't know much about it, and but I do know that it evolved out of bootleggers
Yeah.
uh, wanting to test out their cars against other people's cars.
Are we gaming tonight?
I think we are actually,
If we are, I need to get a nap.
but as soon as I get done with this stream, uh, yeah, I got a lot of cleaning to do. Some I got to get one of the bathrooms straightened out, and then I got to do the mopping and everything like that. But Big Vic's waiting for a Vikings game because deep down inside he is a freaking masochist.
I gotta go to Kentucky on the third, the second.
Yeah, you got to run pops up to Lexington. I heard.
Yeah, I'm gonna go up on the first on my birthday.
I think that'd be great because if nothing else, maybe you can, go out to dinner, hang out with the parents,
Hang out with the fam.
hang out with the fam, do your thing. Yeah, that'd be a really great idea, honestly. I mean, because if your woman's not going to be around, then why would you want to sit alone at the house
Because it's my favorite thing to do.
on your birthday, though?
I sit around and listen to Radiohead.
Dude, I don't know if that's healthy.
It's probably not.
Just sitting around listening to Karma Police just on like freaking repeat.
No surprises and high and
No
dry.
surprises, right? You're just sitting there. Or what's the other one I like a lot? Don't leave me high.
High and
Yeah.
or
Don't
talk
leave me
shows.
high. And of course, like all bands, the lead singer says that the song they despise the most is Creep.
Yeah.
And it's like, you guys are assholes.
I want to be someone else or I'll explode.
Yeah. I kind of hate it when bands say that the song they like the least of all their songs is the most popular one. Because I almost feel like they're just being shitheads.
Yeah, they're like, we're hipster.
It's like you're being edgelords over your own music.
Yeah.
It's like I watched an Artemis concert yesterday, and I Like the Way You Kiss Me was the last song played, and they didn't even call it that. You know how they can break up the time stamps?
Yeah.
It was called the most overplayed song. And it's like it's the only one anyone knows you by. What the hell are you talking about? No one has even heard of you before that song.
It's like
you want to play that role, like
it's like the yeahs going on in concert and not wanting to play maps.
right? It's like
nobody knows any of your other songs. Just play what everybody likes.
Right? It's like or Death Kick Cab for Cutie going in concert and not playing Where Soul Meets Body.
Okay, I'm gonna quote something that Anthony Kiedis said.
Okay.
And you wouldn't expect this from Anthony Kiedis. One time he said that Flea was complaining about playing Snow because it was their really popular song at the time. He's like, I'm just tired of playing it. We play it all the time. And Anthony Kiedis is like, yeah, but what if that's some kid's favorite Red Hot Chili Peppers song and he saved up his money to come see us and we didn't play our popular song? What are we saying to our fans? And Flea's like, yeah, you're right. Let's play it.
Well, duh. I mean, remember when you got me those tickets to see The Cure?
Yeah.
Can you imagine how pissed off I would have been if I'd went and sat through a 2-hour Cure concert and they'd never played Friday I'm in Love?
Or
I
Boys
would have
Don't
just
Cry.
been like, what in the, hey, it's the coolest brothers outside of my own boys. Hey, thank you for saying that. It's not true, but I mean, coolness. I don't know if you replace coolness with nerdiest, goofiest, maybe, then I think you'd be on track for me and my brother. But yeah, it's like these bands that they decide their number one best-selling song is
Their least favorite.
their least favorite. It's like Flea, get out there and play bass and just shut up. Instead of, I mean, Anthony Kiedis handled it well by being like, this could be some kid's favorite song, right? That's appealing to, empathy and all that. And that's awesome, right? But he could have also said, look, dude, this is why we get paid.
Yeah.
I mean, if we go out there and we play a bunch of B-sides that no one ever heard of, people are going to stop coming to concerts. They're going to be like, nah.
When I went and saw Weezer and Foo Fighters, they played all their hits at the time.
That's what you do. That's what you do. You show up.
It
you
was like,
throw in a couple of B-sides here and there. You play hits.
It was like 15, 20 years after Weezer came out with the Sweater Song, and they still played it because they knew that everybody wanted to hear that song.
Oh, dude. I'll tell you, one of the best concerts I ever went to was Cinderella opening for David Lee Roth. And this was after David Lee Roth had split from Van Halen. So he was doing the whole, I'm just a gigolo and all that kind of shit. Oh, man. That concert was amazing. Of course, I was like 15. So,
Yeah.
And then another one, of course, Hungar bought me tickets to see The Cure, which was massively awesome, even though at the time I was close to 40, which means Robert Smith was like 70. What's the other one?
Depeche Mode.
When me and my best friend Marco went to see Stabbing Westward opening for Depeche Mode.
I bought you those tickets.
In Orlando. You did. That was a gift from you. You're a cool brother. Yeah, I do need to go online, find a really good, or I have a AI image maker. I need to go on the AI image maker and make like a really badass picture of an axe, and then put it on a t-shirt on Teespring and put, I could have had an axe of the Dwarven Lords, but my DM said no or something, and then get that shirt for Hungar for his birthday.
You're wrong, dude.
Yeah, I live Daytona is not far from me, Jose. I can be in Daytona in an hour or so. So, you know what I mean? And which means I could be at every NASCAR race if I wanted to. But I don't want to, man. It's hot.
Loud,
just I respect it because I know when my grandpa was young, he had a sleeper like an old Chrysler that was like primered black, but they had worked that thing out and it was basically a race car. You know what I mean? But that was when Grandpa was bootlegging before he found God and decided he wasn't doing that anymore. And it went from being a bootlegger to a teetotaler.
To a gospel band member that had like 17 albums.
Yeah. Morris McKee and the Hallelujahs. Yeah. Ain't that weird how life goes? But, a lot of the best saints started out as horrendous sinners. So that is the most awesome thing about the whole thing is you can always be redeemed no matter what kind of jerk off you've been in life.
Ate a bunch of vitamin C today.
You're not feeling it?
I got a little bit of a flu kicking in.
Oh man. Well, take your vitamin C, stay hydrated, get
And so
yourself some Powerade or something.
I've been drinking vitamin C, the the emergency stuff,
Yep.
and I made some udon with a ponzo citrus sauce
Right.
and ginger because ginger's supposed to be really good for you with the
Well,
flu.
ginger is a warming spice, so yes. It's
So,
actually a cooling spice too. It's weird. Ginger can be either.
and I've been drinking a lot of water.
um, I keep saying nobody listens that you might want to pick up some like Pedialyte or something.
I drink Pedialyte all the time. Mom makes me drink it.
Good, because that will hopefully keep your
Uh,
electrolytes where they
yeah,
need to be.
and I drink so much water all the time because I have to drink about a gallon a day to stay dehydrated.
Dude, that's what I drink about a day.
And Mom's like, "Well, you got to drink more Pedialyte because you're drinking so much water, and your body's not absorbing electrolytes, and then you're drinking so much water." And
She's not
plus,
wrong though, because I remember a long time ago when that lady drank like 5 gallons of water to win an Xbox and she died. Yeah, it's because if you drink too much water, you throw your sodium potassium levels off and you'll have a heart attack.
yeah,
Like literally, your heart will just be like, nope, I'm done. So,
keeping
yeah,
my blood pressure on point and everything. And I've got to put salt on my food because I'm always sodium low anyway.
right. Yep. Because the cardium is the only muscle in the human body that generates its own electricity. And it does that by transfer of potassium and sodium through the cell walls back and forth. And every time they go through the cell wall, they generate the electricity. So if you get too low on one or the other, then all of a sudden usually you can fix it because you'll start out with just like dysrhythmias and etc. And if you call somebody, they can like we carried potassium and sodium on the trucks, you could hook people up. But I mean, if you're sitting at the house not paying attention or whatever, yeah, you could seriously throw your heart into a dysrhythmia and die. Now,
I'll tell you
this is the
what,
ship that I got to cut the extra ends of the lanyards off, the
yeah,
rigging, uh, because I tie it and then I put a drop of glue on it. But this is a bark.
yeah.
And then the Spanish would sometimes mount cannons on them, and they would be called a like barco armadillo or something like that. I'd have to look it up, but basically, very common ship in the Caribbean, used for fishing, hauling, everything like that, and also because the rigging is so simple, it was considered like anyone could
Yeah,
basically sell one of these.
they were mostly for closer to shore.
Right. They mostly hung out around the islands close to shore. But the Spanish would arm them up and would send them out to hunt down pirates.
The Spanish would put cannons on a rowboat if they had to.
They actually did.
I know.
Uh, only have wine.
Hello, so yeah, hello you.
Well, I mean,
This bark is worse than his bite.
Satya, how you doing, man? What is up? Actually, I assume your gender. I'm a bad person. Tell Wizards of the Coast on me. Um, James's bark is worse than his bite. Again, leave it to the dungeon minister to come up with that. I
I'm
guess
not.
it was right out there waiting.
Yeah, I'm not going to stay on the stream. I'm not going to stay on the stream very long because I am going to
Disappoint
get
me
back
greatly.
game tonight because I don't feel good and I don't want this game.
So you're going to disappoint me greatly.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I heard.
rather me get some rest and try to get feeling better for game tonight or miss game.
Nah, you guys are hiding out, waiting to ambush some trolls. So I'm going to go ahead and say you probably, since you're playing one of the best warriors in the group.
I'm playing a thief.
Yeah, but you're still a dwarf.
That's true.
And dwarves are, you know, just good fighters in general. So,
Oil of oregano.
yeah.
Oh, nice. Your COC game started today. Your character is a speakeasy bouncer.
Nice. Um, that's actually kind of awesome.
Nerd-
Because I lack a lot of imagination, I think if I got to play in a Call of Cthulhu game, I would want to be a trumpet player.
Woohoo! Nerdy Ogre said if you take a leisure cruise on it, you'd have a Barco Lounger.
A barcode lounger. Geez, guys.
Jimmy Carter died today. I figured that he was already dead. They are just wheeling his corpse around.
Yeah, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but the last couple of pictures of him wasn't looking good.
I'm not speaking ill of the dead when I honestly say he was the worst American president in the history of American presidents.
I don't think that's true.
I do. Department of Education, Iran Contra.
Anyway, I don't want to get into that.
All right, I'm
Um,
going to take a nap. I love you, brother.
but anyway,
Everybody
you
have a
see
great
this
day.
one, Hungar?
That's cool. Frick
It's a brigandine.
Brigandine?
Yeah, which is kind of like a little kind of a warship.
It's the one that's the size one down from the frigate.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think the one between a brigandine and a frigate is called a corvette. But the game company that I was getting these ships from, they haven't had the Corvette in stock in like.
Well, the Corvette's just a really good American sports car.
Well, it's kind of like a sloop, but with a shit ton of guns on it.
I'm going to name my sleep the John B.
Yeah, we've already been over that, bro. Isn't that Beach Boys song?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Do you remember in China, Illinois, when the one professor brother was like terrified of the Beach Brothers or Beach Boys? And it
No,
turned out when he's a little kid, he caught them like serial killing people at the beach.
nice.
So, like, he kind of blocked out what they did, but he was absolutely terrified of the Beach Boys.
Oh, and Father Aaron, tell Touchberries I said hello and keep lighting those fires.
Touchberry, yeah. You know, the easiest way to handle every problem is to burn it.
Have
Yeah.
a fun game, Vic. And I'm gonna bounce, brother. I'm gonna take a nap.
Okay, you go bounce. You take a nap. I'll see you later, I'm sure.
Love you.
Love you. Mean it.
Everybody have a great Sunday. Good gaming, everybody.
Or what is it? Love you. Always have. Always will. Yeah. Yeah, that is a little bit of a Braveheart there. I love you. Always have. Always will. Yeah. Vic waiting to watch a Vikings game. Wow. That's just like, I mean, the Vikings. Can you imagine being a Vikings fan? That'd be like sitting on a stump and nailing your testicles to it and just falling backwards off of it. I mean, there's just no reason to torture yourself that bad. But anyway, let's see. Fork that frigate. Yeah. Yeah, I do have a 6th straight frigate, and I am still putting cells on. It's going to have there's going to be a big cell that runs off the back here. And then in the front, there's going to be a big triangle cell here. And then you got the square rigs on the main mast. And I'm just getting getting all the rigging lined up and everything. This guy will be a danger in the game because all the other ships I own have small cannons on them, but this bad boy is carrying like medium guns, and it's got a lot of them. So if it manages to get a good broadside off on a sloop or something, that'll be the end of that shit. Plus, since the sloop is considered lightly constructed, any crew members you have on the ship do not receive cover from enemy fire because that's just what they said. Go to Iceland. Yeah. You know, they got an app in Iceland so that if you're out at a pub and you, how did you get all those ships? They must have been on sale. They were. Black Friday, I went on Etsy and there was I think it's White Wolf Studios, and they do a ton of 28 mil pirate era ships, and they were like 40 or 50% off. So this bad boy right here was like $40 on sale. And I mean, and it came with a ton of like, you know, I've got my Fighting Crow's Nest and, you know, all the other stuff. I think the most expensive one was the frigate, and even that one wasn't what I would call exorbitantly expensive at all. Like it was under the value of money where I have to talk to my wife about things. It's part of my portfolio. Yeah, and I just it's really strange. I've read the rules. I've got my crew. I've got enough figures to make hell 6 crews if I wanted. And I've got enough ships so that, you know, all these people could play, right? But it's like I didn't think I would get so like whatever happened to me with Blood and Plunder as I did. Now, I will always admit that I am an old school, we're talking Commodore 64 old school or Tandy, Sid Meier's Pirates fan. So I think that's what happened is I always was such a huge fan of Sid Meier's Pirates. And then these guys released a game where basically you play on the tabletop Sid Meier's Pirates. And it functions like Mordheim, or Frostgrave, which you guys all know I love, in that you can play campaigns. So, you know, once you've got a ship and a crew, you can continue using that ship and crew unless they die. And as long as the campaign goes on, you know? And to me, that is right up my alley. And the other thing, though, is this. If you're the kind of guy that always wanted to play Mordheim, but now you're like, damn, I can't get any Mordheim miniatures because it costs like $1 billion. Guess what? The plastic pirate kit they sell for this game that comes with like 24 figures. Yeah, they look like Mordheim figures. I mean, you know, with little hats folded up and a brace of pistols or a cutlass, or they look like Mordheim figures. A friendship, yeah. Oh well, I mean, it honestly, I'll end up maybe with the brigandine or a sloop because the points cost. You get like 100 points, and that includes the ship and the crew, as well as your captain, right? And a sloop is pretty cheap, like 8 points, something like that. It's not bad, right? But like that 6-rate frigate, that thing would be like 40 points. So that would be Satya Hungar's birthday's tomorrow too, I think. No, his is the 1st, like literally January 1. Amiga. I remember I got an Amiga too, and I bought the memory upgrade that upgraded it to 1 megabyte of memory. Is like a big steel box you had to put in the bottom of it. I played the shit out of Chuck Yeager's Flight Simulator, El Gato, like all those simulators. Now you have a friendship. Yep. And if I decide to put together a Spanish crew, which I might, then I've got this Portuguese or Spanish style correct, which is the guns I'm working on. This thing is kind of wild in that it's got 4 cannons on it and 2 of them face rear. So if somebody's chasing you, you can boom, boom, you know. And then, of course, you've got a lot of these swivel guns mounted to it. But this would be the perfect ship for Spaniards because, I mean, this is, and you can see it's got a boat in it. But this is like the Nina, Santa Maria, the Pinta, whatever. This is the exact same ship as those ships. So can you imagine crossing the Atlantic on something like this? Because as always, let me look around. I have my measuring devices somewhere around here. There's one. I always keep my square and my compass and everything nearby. So let's see. From farthest point to farthest point, this thing is 14 inches long. So at scale, that means this is 70 feet long. So you spend months crossing the ocean on a ship that's literally 70 feet long and maybe 30 feet wide. I don't know. But Satya, how is the miniatures market in Iceland? I mean, I know, or not Iceland, Finland. I know that Raggy, the guy who makes some of the role playing games, lives in Finland. But I mean, do you have a hard time getting your hands on like Reaper and stuff like that? James Fleet Command. Jose, I had Harpoon on computer. You remember that one? Game Designers Workshop Harpoon. That one was crazy too because you never see the enemy ships because it's modern day. So it's like you would plot the course of your fleet out and then send you know, it'd show you the circle that was air cover, and then you would send your scout ships out or airplanes. And then if you spotted an enemy ship, you could start launching harpoons at it and shit. Oh yeah, yeah. The Monolith Conan board game ship map is awesome. Especially, we've got the same one with the 2 ships side by side, so you can fight off boarding actions and stuff. And do I have one on my desk, or did I put it up? I have one on my desk. I have about 60 of these guys, as well as some of them armed with bows. Like if I were to, well, his base is too big because Blood and Plunder puts everything on a 20 mil base, so you can fit more figures on a ship. But he would fit right in with Blood and Plunder miniatures. I mean, it's just a guy with a dagger and a freaking cutlass, you know? So that's pretty good. I am doing the shading and highlighting on my wife's character. She is playing in Tauslanta, a Cimmerillion warrior mage. So there is her character. If I can stop shaking, I got to focus in. There it is. So what I just did is I used a 3D printed female gladiator or gladiatrix, and I gave her really pale green skin because Cimmerillions in Tauslanta all have green skin, but they typically have blonde or black hair. And since in real life she's a platinum blonde, I just gave her the blonde hair. But now I'm getting ready to get the wash and put a wash on so that the blonde hair will have a little bit more definition or whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I've been doing a lot of is figuring out ways to take D&D figures and turn them into Tauslanta figures. And believe it or not, for the most part, it's not very difficult at all. For the most part, there are some figures that are going to be difficult, but like if you need somebody to play a Drua, all you need to do is find an elf figure and paint its skin jet black and its hair bone white, and then paint its clothes whatever color you want to, and boom, that's a Drua. And even though the game says there are no elves, Drua do in fact have pointy ears, so, but they're not really elves. And if you want to make a thrall, you just get one of the miniatures of a Goliath and paint him up all like he's tattooed all to hell. Because that's honestly the thing that sets the thrall apart from whatever else. If somebody decides they want to play a Aranid, then you just paint up a Kenku, blue or green. If someone wants to play a Griff Warrior, you just paint up an Aarakocra. If someone wants to play a Jacka, you just paint up a Tabaxi. So yeah, easy, barely even an inconvenience. If someone wanted to play a Saranid or whatever, the lizard people, that's extra easy. Just get some lizard people and paint them up. Magic the Gathering and GW stuff. Yeah, we're having a weird thing in America right now where a lot of stores are boycotting Games Workshop. That's been all over the usual suspects on the internet. They have been, damn, it is storming outside all of a sudden. They have been going off about it because I guess too many game stores are like, nah, screw this. And we're talking like major game franchises in the U.S. And they're saying that they're basically going to sell out their current product, and that'll be it. They're not carrying Games Workshop anymore. On the other hand, the other thing going around the internet, for those of you who give a shit, which I don't know why any of you guys really would, but if you do, was it Gav Thorpe or Jervis Johnson and another guy wrote the Ultimate Guide to Warhammer 40K, in which they said that there are no female custodies. So, so that whole thing everyone got super pissed off about, where they tried to gaslight people into thinking there were female custodies. And then they said, well, don't worry about it. It's just in this story. It's not like we're ever going to make miniatures for female custodies. And now it's like, no, there are no female custodies. So I don't know what to think about it. I don't know if like one of workshops, like, the people who work for free just to get experience got their hands on Games Workshop's internet and started posting shit that got them in a lot of trouble. And then their response when everybody's like, there are no female custodies. And Games Workshop posted back and said, since the beginning of the creation of the 10,000, there have always been female custodies. So then everybody just started posting screenshots of the custodies books that specifically say that every custodies is created from the firstborn son of one of the noble families of Terra. And it went downhill. That shit has been going on for about a year now. So yeah, that's the problem with Games Workshop, is out of the blue. Now the rumor is, Satya, is that Amazon wanted a character in the 40K story that they want to make to be a female in power armor, but for whatever reason, they did not want that character to be a sister of battle or Sister Silence, or you name it. And so Games Workshop was like, well, there's no way we're going to put a Space Marine as a female. That would just, kill the whole company. People would lose their damn minds, right? So they thought they could sneak by with the Custodes being a female. But it turns out that people freaked out about the Custodes just as bad, if not worse. And I get it, because the main reason I used to, because I'm getting rid of all my 40K stuff, but the main thing that drugged me to 40K back in like 96 or 98 was the lore, because the actual miniatures game sucks. The system has been horrible forever. When you talk about Warhammer 40K, it's like some rule sets were better than other rule sets, but none of the rule sets are what I would call good. It's just some are less horrible than others, but it was always the lore that was so amazing, and you're just like, hell yeah, who wouldn't want to play a bunch of space vampires, roaming around in blood red power armor and whatever, right? But yeah, they decided they were going to make the Emperor's personal bodyguards. I mean, the people who will absolutely take your head off if you get anywhere near the Imperial throne without express permission. Now they've always had females in their ranks, and everybody's like, you just went against 35 years of lore. And the thing is, and I think game companies don't get this, including Wizards of the Coast and whatever, is they don't understand how attached to lore gamers are. Hey, what's up, Shark? How you doing, bro? And I think anybody who is a gamer understands that.
Well, the thing is they look at it as a business point of view. They don't look at it from the fan base. So they say, oh, well, it's just a fictional setting. We can change whatever, and nobody will know. Nobody will care.
Well, they learned that they were very different, or very wrong. Because it turned out everyone cared. It turned out look at that thing. Got him a tiger in the room. It turned out that there were bans and freaking people swearing off the game, and just shit went crazy over that. And then the one guy, I guess, showed up at a Spanish game convention, and he had like a button on it that had like a Norse rune that's affiliated, I guess, with no guys. And people freaked out about that. But in Spain, it's not against the law to wear those kind of things. You can wear them.
Well,
but
even in Germany, it's not.
That.
Even in Germany, it's not. You just can't use it for racist purposes.
Right. Well, that's when they put out their email that was all like, Warhammer 40K is for everyone, blah, blah, blah. And everyone was just like, sigh, like, least sigh, really?
When wasn't it? I mean,
yeah,
that's the thing. Well, that's, the face of gaming has changed. Really? Because, I mean...
Well, that guy got fired.
I first got into the hobby in 2000. And I did it through Games Workshop. It happened to be through Games Workshop.
Right.
And whenever I went to my first game store that wasn't Games Workshop, because there was a mall that opened up near me, and I got a Games Workshop flyer, and I was like, oh, this seems pretty cool. I got to go check it out. And, well,
right.
I did, and it was cool and all that. Anyway, and but eventually it was because I was playing 40K. They only ran 40Ks on one night, and I could only play on one night, and there's all this. So I started digging around, and I found this other place that was actually way closer. It was a regular gaming store. And whenever I got there,
they're like, "Hey, you want to play some Palladium?"
Actually, no. It was Cyberpunk.
Nice. Sacha, there was a time, a very long time ago, when it really looked like War Machine and Hordes were going to take over as the #1 miniature game on the market, that would be the second edition of War Hordes, as everybody called it, which I played, Menoth for Life. And then something, I don't know what happened. It was super popular. Everyone was playing it at our local game store. They were running tournaments, everything. And then one day it was like gone. You know, it was like everybody just stopped playing. But that's happened a couple of times with games, you know, like Infinity. There was a minute where you could roll up to the my comic shop, which is massive, and there'd be 40 people playing Infinity. And then one weekend you show up, no one's playing. And also in Florida, it changes from location to location. Like in Orlando, it's all about 40K. In Tampa, St. Pete, it's all about Battletech. Now, Jose, you asked me what I think about the Ilcons. I am one of those nasty grognards you probably heard about online that thinks everything that happened in Battletech after 3025 is garbage. So now I'm not going to tell you how to play Battletech. You can play Battletech in whatever era you want. You can do whatever you want. You're your own man. Knock yourself out. But I play Succession Wars pretty much only. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I mean, after I get done running this stream, I got to do a lot of work for the wife, but that's what it is when you're married. You know what I mean? We got our chores to do, and I'll be honest, over the holidays, I've been slacking a little bit. So
it happens,
you know. But yeah, there was a time, man, I would roll into the local Costume of Comics with my Menoth army. I played a Crusader ball. So my Warcaster was the girl that was floating, and all the monks had her by chains. So she was like a freaking
Macy's Day balloon,
like one of those balloons in a parade, right? But her thing is she got 10 power points to spread out amongst stuff to activate them. And as long as the jack you tuck in your army, which is like a mech, didn't have any ranged attacks, its cost was reduced. So it would be her and like 10 Crusader mechs. And the Crusader was a straight up run up on you and smack you in the head with a big ass mace. You know what I mean? And as long as you kept a couple of them in front of her, your opponent couldn't get her with any ranged attacks. So I would just overwhelm my opponent. Also, I'd have like a unit or two of zealots, which were just guys with hand grenades that would just run up and throw grenades. And a lot of times they would die in the process because, I mean, Menoth was the zealot, super religious, fundamentalist faction, you know? And then, of course, I also had to take the Avatar of Menoth, which was a mech that didn't need the Warcaster to put PowerPoints on it. It generated its own PowerPoints. So it could act completely independently, and it could pretty much one-on-one anything in the game.
Hey, off-grid.
Off-grid, yeah. But then again, like I said, you know, I think what killed, and I could be totally wrong, Satya, but I think what killed War Hordes is when they released the extra big things like the giant Tesla walker thing, like things bigger than Warjacks, like the Russian, well, it's not really Russian, but they were Russian, like war wagon thing that had like all the, I mean, once they started releasing those super powered extra big items, a lot of people just were like, nah, done. And they just went back to whatever they played, which for the most part was Warhammer 40K. See, I was always the nerd because even though I did play Warhammer 40K and I did play in tourneys, me and a couple of my buddies, we would show up every Saturday and we would play Warhammer Fantasy. So you would have like 10 tables of people playing Space Marines versus something, and then one table of Dark Elves versus the Undead or some shit. And of course, I played Dark Elves because, you know. Because why? I don't know. I'm a misogynist a lot of times just for fun, but I love my dark elves with their, big booty, big boobed freaking armor bikini freaking witch elves dancing across the table with poison daggers, and like 1 in every 4 soldiers in your whole army is a female, and you can see it because their breastplate armor, So I'm all like, yeah, they're elves, so who cares? Male, female, don't matter, right? It's elves. But now when they started releasing Imperial troops as females, your boy got pissed. I was like, that's ridiculous. The Imperium is based on the Holy Roman Empire, and they would never stick some woman in a halberdier unit and be like, okay, go out there and face corn berserkers. I mean, no. But with elves, they're not human, so whatever sex they are doesn't really matter. And orcs don't have a sex at all anyway, so.
Orcs are just fungi.
They are the fun guys from Yagath. Not really, but yeah.
Well, I mean, see, I've always seen it as okay, so
I never had a problem
they
with
based the Imperium off of the Holy Roman Empire. It's based off of. Doesn't mean it's exactly like, just because the Holy Roman Empire wouldn't do it doesn't mean that the
oh, don't get me wrong. There are female warrior characters you can play in the Imperium. Like you can play Sigmarite warrior priests and all kinds of shit like that. And they're badasses. I mean, they're running around with great hammers, crushing skulls, doing miracles. I mean, they're badasses. But there's no reason for there to be a female Imperial Knight. That's just not something that has ever happened in 40 years, nor should it ever happen. But if you want to play a bunch of female knights, I mean, dark elves, high elves, wood elves, Bretonians even a little bit. I mean, they do got the Lady of the Lake and all that shit. I mean, basically every other army. I mean, even Chaos. If you want to play a female army, play Chaos and choose Slanesh. Guess what? 3/4 of your army will be female. You know what I mean? Like I've got one right here. It's see if I can get this down without dropping her. I've just base coated her, but this is a Slanesh Herald, and it's an obvious female, or both actually. Like it's got the female boobie on the right side and then a male boob on the left side, and that looks feminine, but also kind of not.
androgynous.
So basically, if you want to play a bunch of like hermaphroditic demons, pick Slanesh. Best of both worlds, right? But they don't sell fantasy games here. Hero Quest is actually, I think it was originally Milton Bradley, and it's actually a really good game, Jose. Right. They butchered the Iron Kingdoms horribly. And it was just like, well, okay. I mean, and also they had the thing where they were like heavy metal, and because all of their figures were made of actual metal. And then all of a sudden they started putting out kits, and all the miniatures were made out of like resin. And a lot of the players just, I mean, I'm not one. I actually prefer plastic. But a lot of the players were super pissed off about that, because I guess at some point Privateer Press had said they would never make plastic figures, that all their figures would forever be, made out of metal. And that was kind of a selling point. And then they changed that. And then in addition to jacks, they started putting out these like crazy war machines that cost like well over $100 if you were going to field one. And they were like massive. The base on these things would be like, 10 inches across. And just like, yeah, they ruined themselves, is what I guess I'm trying to say. War Machines had the world in its hand, and they got greedy and ruined themselves. If they had just stuck, if they just stuck to the promise they made and kept making more jacks and more warcasters, stuff like that, they would have been fine. They'd have been fine. They might have actually continued to gain market share. Monolith Conan. Do I need Hero Quest? No, unless you want to play, fantasy guys killing orcs and Fimmer. Monolith Conan is actually a lot more complicated too. I mean, not complicated, but there's a lot more you can do with it because of your the crystals and how you can spend crystals to take actions and stuff. And also because there are shit tons of missions. I've got the hardbound Conan book from Monolith that adds like another 30 missions or some shit. So that's a great value too. If you're looking for a high-end board game that I would call a great value, Monolith Conan, when it's available, which is, I think currently it's available, it'll set you back like $100 or less, depending on where you find it. But it comes with like close to 100 miniatures and like awesome maps. I mean, these big maps fold out and they are awesome. There's like one of like a Pictish village and a ruined castle, and and then it's all like these missions you play, and you can choose, okay, I'm going to play Conan, and someone else will be like, I'm going to be Valeria, and someone else might be like, well, I'm going to be whoever, and then you play through these missions against whatever pirates picks, and it's really good. It's really good, and yeah, and they're coming out with a new role-playing game, which I don't know if it'll be as good as I thought 2-20 was, but from the free beta test copy that they're giving anybody who shows up and downloads it, it looks like it's going to be a perfectly good Conan game. Now, I'm wondering if they're going to allow you to begin the game as like an Asgard or an Azar slaver. That was one thing. D&D players, boy, if they ever picked up Conan 2-20, their heads would explode. Because you could literally start the game as an Azar slaver. And
yeah,
one of
they're probably going to change that.
You got for a free piece of equipment like shackles and a whip. So it was like, yeah, they were giving no F's about being politically correct, except with the Kung Fu one and the pre-apology and the Southern Kingdoms one, which new Kill Team is awesome. It's just so expensive. 40K, I wouldn't bother. 10th edition 40K sucks. Monopoly, I wouldn't bother because all that's going to do is cause you and your family and friends to hate each other. Clue, awesome. Warcry, don't know anything about it. Pokemon, my daughter plays, don't know anything about it. Pandemic is an amazingly fun game. And another one to think of, if you want a board game you can play with your friends and family, is Splendor. It's a really good game. And they're kind of standalone. But also, Warcry, War Mahords, right? I mean, Carcassonne, that's a lot of fun. You just kind of build a map of a region in like the wine country of France. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most points from different like tiles they laid down wins. And there's so many expansions to that. And don't forget the ultimate old school game from back in the day, Settlers of Catan. Then again, some people might be upset and be like, that game's a colonialist game, because it is.
Yeah.
Like you're literally playing like colonial powers that have landed on an island. There is a native on the island who is an absolute piece of shit. And your whole goal is to build cities and roads and everywhere like that. But the native, if he lands on your territory, basically robs you. Now, what's funny is in newer editions, they use like a red pawn to represent the native or a purple pawn. But in the original edition, it was a black pawn. So people were all like, hold on a second here. You know what I mean? But the game's made by like Scandinavians or something, Germans. Clone Wars is a card game with a pandemic system attached. Never played it, never even heard of it.
I've heard of Pandemic, but I know
Pandemic's good. I've got it. I've played it. I like Pandemic. Just don't get Cthulhu Pandemic unless you just want to lose every game nonstop.
Well, that's anything involving Cthulhu. Just automatically assume it's a no-win scenario.
Right. But see, the thing is, I have Mansions of Madness 2nd edition, and I have 3rd edition of Arkham Asylum. And I've beat missions in both of those games, me and, the other game players. But Cthulhu Pandemic, we lost that game one time because it's a cooperative game. Me and my wife, and I think it was my niece, it took us longer to set the game up than it did to lose. I mean, it was like 3 turns past we lost. I was just like, how is this possible? But it is possible with that game because you're supposed to run around and kill cultists. And if you allow more than like 3 cultists to be at the same location, the cultists turn into a Shoggoth. And Shoggoths are really hard to kill. And then if 3 Shoggoths are on the board at any given time, you just lose. And then you draw cards, and the cards will say shit like, put 5 cultists on the board. And it's like, oh no. So Munchkin is a hoot. It is. Zombicide is a fun game. I've got the original one that come in a box about yay big. Is a little box. And the whole point of it is you got to get to the helicopter pad. And you got little ammo tokens that you got to keep because every time you use your gun, you got to expend ammo.
There are 2 card games that we love here at the one is Flux.
Oh, I love Flux.
Yeah, okay. For those of you who don't know, Flux is a card game, and the rules are simple. You draw a card, you play a card. That's it.
The rules are simple, except that the rules
until somebody plays a card that the rule changes.
Right. That's how Flux works. It's like the basic rule is draw a card, lay a card, but then you might lay a card that stays in play that says draw 5 cards.
Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden everybody's drawing cards, but they got to discard down to their hand size. Yeah, that game, I have the Adventure Time version.
Yeah. We have regular Flux and Zombie Flux.
Yeah. I've got Adventure Time and I've got I've got the Monty Python Holy Grail. But my wife got that for me. And one thing my wife knows about me is back in the day when Adventure Time was still like on TV and stuff, your boy loved Adventure Time. Like, I would watch Adventure Time every day.
Never cared for it.
I don't like the art, but I love the stories, And I think I like the fact that Finn always described himself as a level 1 paladin, And Bubblegum Princess was actually the bad guy of the whole show. When you think about it. Like she created the Candy Kingdom and she ruled with an iron fist. And
good night, Satya.
Good night, Satya. Sleep well.
I hope I pronounced that name right.
But yeah, I mean,
And the other game,
Sorry,
the other
I'm
game that we
shaking my
left here
table.
is Lunch Money.
Oh yeah, round and round and round she goes. Where she stops,
I think you know.
I think you know. Yeah, Lunch Money, the game where you play a young girl in an all-girl school fist fighting out in the playground. Yeah, we play a lot of Lunch Money too back in the day. Again. And the names on the cards are hilarious too. You
Mhm.
know, it'll be a card like lead pipe, and then
Hey, Doc.
it'll have like a little saying, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
or right cross, and then the saying will be like prepare to lose some teeth or some shit like that. That is a good game, a good fun family game. You know,
Hey, Jen.
10-year-old
How's it
girls
going?
at a Catholic girls' school just beating
Yeah.
the shit out of each other with every device they could put their hands on.
What is this, Catholic girl school, the role-playing game? Which I'm
Lunch Money.
completely
It's
down
called
for.
Lunch Money, and there's an expansion. But
Sticks and
basically,
Stones. Yeah, we got that one.
yeah, sticks and stones. But basically, how we played is you'd get like 20 pennies and put them in front of you, and then you go playing cards at each other. And if you do damage, they lose that many pennies, and whoever's out is out.
Oh, interesting.
So-
This is a card game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
But all the cards have like pictures of like these little girls in school uniforms
It's only one.
committing like
All-
heinous acts of violence.
All those pictures are of the creator's little girl. They're all
Right.
his daughter.
So it's all pictures of her in kind of a weird art form that's kind of dark looking.
Yeah.
And it'll have like weird sayings
I mean,
about busting
you were-
people's teeth out and
If
stuff.
you were going through a photo album and saw them as a like a Polaroid picture or just a regular family picture, it'd be so cute. But the way they look, that they have it colorized and distressed and everything, and you look at it, that's creepy as fuck.
Yeah, it's like everything heavy sepia toned and distressed, and the little girl's got little curly hair, and she's probably in real life was a little cutie, but those cards make her look like you wouldn't want to mess with her. You know what I mean? And like I said, every single card has some quote on it, and all the quotes are funny, but in like a really violent way, right?
Yeah.
And then you can play like block, roundhouse kick, right cross, lead pipe, knife, and disarm. And yeah, pretty much the cards are your attack actions. And the objective is for your little girl to beat everyone else's little girl. Apparently, I guess to take their lunch money. I don't know. But good game. That is a callback, nerdy. Because that game, I remember that game from like 30 years ago. That's a real callback game there.
I always thought it'd be interesting to do like a short campaign, like based out of like a boarding school or just someplace really weird where you wouldn't expect to like run a game, just like have all kinds of like crazy stuff happen.
Dude, play a game where like all the players start out as kids in a boarding school, except like all the staff at the boarding school are secretly cultists of one of the great old ones or something.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
You have to figure out
somebody
what's
said
going
Jimmy
on.
Carter died. I mean, the guy was like 100, so
Yeah, he was immensely.
I'm not
angry.
going to say anything bad about the dead, but it's like no one's surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, last time I seen him when they had him in the wheelchair out front of his house, he looked dead then. So
No. He was a terrible president, but he was a very decent person. So I mean, I
yeah,
don't
a lot
have
of people
anything.
say he was the worst president, but I'm not sure if that's true.
A lot of it was just kind of the situation because he got in basically as a knee-jerk reaction to Watergate. His own party didn't respect him and regularly told him to go get bent. So I mean, he was kind of in an impossible situation, to an
Right.
extent. But also, he was way too soft on the Iranians.
Right.
when the hostage thing happened, because he was very religious, nonviolent person. He absolutely did not want to do anything military.
Yeah, I think he's the one that screwed up the Delta Force thing.
Well, that was kind of out of his hands. They had like an accident or something when they were getting ready to go in, because it happened over. They were over there. And there was like a sandstorm kicked up, and some of the helicopters hit each other. So I mean, that was
Yeah,
kind of out
plus
of his
the naval
hands.
units, the army units, and the marine units, and all that use different radio procedures, and it's just a big cluster. Luckily, they uniformed all that stuff now. So
There was a Steve Jackson pocket game that was based on that raid, as if it had gone forward. It was like one of like little fold out map games, and
nice.
one person played the Iranians, the other played the Delta troops, and you had to like go in and get the hostages and get them to, I think it was like a soccer field where they're going to airlift them out of. I think it was called Tehran.
Yeah, it was kind of a yeah. The old guy was just put in a hard spot, which is why Reagan swept in the way he did, because people were just like,
Okay,
this
yeah, it was
is history's greatest monster.
it was called Raid on Iran. The game. I
Well,
remember seeing it.
of
I never
course,
played it. I remember
that
seeing it.
quote that quote was made before before Biden got into power.
Yeah, the thing
I
too
think,
was that,
see, here's the thing: is like I don't. Carter was before my time, just a little bit. I
Yeah.
remember Reagan. I remember hot spots of Reagan. Like I remember him getting shot. I remember him telling Gorbachev to tear down the wall. You know that. It's like I grew up. I was born in '78, so I have
so you're a baby.
like vague memories of the early '80s. When the mid to late '80s is whenever things are more solidified.
You're a little baby.
So it's like I don't know anything about Carter.
Yeah, I was very young during the Carter.
If you're not in your
period.
50s or higher, then whatever.
Yeah, but
I got to
what was
scroll
it?
up
Houses.
because somebody said, sorry to hear about that to Jose. I got to see what's going on with Jose. Oh, Forsaken Corner of the Known Universe. Yeah. Yeah. You wouldn't think it would be, but I mean, the good news though for you, Jose, is you can always go to Drive Through RPG and get PDFs of about anything. I mean, if you don't mind using PDFs. I am a fetus. Yeah. You're a little baby. Little baby.
Oh, born during the end of the Clinton administration.
He's not even a beardling. It's like,
but yeah, I know a lot of people who've like talked smack about Carter. Like he's the worst president we've ever had. It's like, well, I mean, I really don't know. I do know, I know about like the gas shortages and all that, and things during the '70s, things were like really messed up.
He was an
shortage
ineffectual
sucked,
president.
man.
I definitely wouldn't say he was the worst. I mean, you got to go back to look at people like Pierce and stuff.
Well,
We had some real bad presidents.
But again, like I
Woodrow
said,
Wilson probably did more damage than anyone.
I would say FDR.
FDR was a major fuck up in a lot of ways, and he's beloved.
Yep.
but I think it's safe to say that Biden is the worst president we've had to date.
I mean, FDR was straight up communist.
Yeah, I don't even think you can really even count Biden, to be honest. I mean,
98% finished with your dragon. Awesome.
I mean, he was in the office some of the time. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
He was basically a complete figurehead.
That shit's like elder abuse
decision.
level.
Yeah,
weird.
they should.
Shit
That
there.
was sick that his family even allowed that.
It's like, and then the news getting on and being like, "Oh, I talked to him the other day. He's as sharp as a tack." And it's like,
really,
I just seen him walk off a stage the wrong way, and just,
shaking
like,
hands with people who aren't there. I mean, it was bad.
calling out, shout outs to people who've been dead for like 15 years. It's like, I don't think I believe you guys anymore.
It wasn't even a go to shake hand. Oh wait, no, you're over here.
Goblin
No, it was
Trailer
a
Park. Mini War Mutt. Man, I watch your videos. You for a long time there, you were playing a lot Oathmark, right? And I love Oathmark. Oathmark is one of my favorite miniature war games going. Yeah, I recognize Mini War Mutt.
Do you know if you publish on drive-through, will they allow you to link? If you don't use their print on demand, will they allow you to link to places where it is available, or is that like a no-no there?
I don't know. I uploaded my game, and I think 12 people picked it up, and then I put it on Biggest Geekus, and like 22 people picked it up. But I put it for free, so. As a matter of fact, a couple of people said they were going to take my game and do a second edition of it, and I gave them permission to. I said, knock yourself out. Goblin Trailer Park sounds like a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Just a bunch of goblins doing redneck shit in a trailer park. Space Aces, the new guidebook at drive-thru, great lighthearted solo retro sci-fi RPG. Yeah, I made a video about our boy Garby because the video was like talking about solo gaming, but at no point in the whole video did he say anything about solo gaming. So I feel like he ripped me off. He just said that the guy that was having a hard time for his family needed to stop playing OS.
You okay there, Ogre?
That's what you get. Palladium strikes again.
I was just trying to put a book up.
Yeah, half elf hillbilly. Oh man, I have a lot of titles from Drive-Thru RPG, but I have to admit a lot of them are free because I order Kickstarters from like Free League games. And then, of course, before they send you your books, they send you an email giving you the link to download the PDFs.
Yeah, that's obnoxious when they do that. The people who back them should get the shit first. That I hate when they do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying as a backer, I usually get the PDF pretty early. Like I've had, and Tauslanta did the same thing. I've had all the Tauslanta PDFs for like a year now.
Oh, you did get it. Oh, okay, I thought you were saying.
No, I think I told you that Sechi, the guy who writes Tauslanta, he CC'd me to an email of him.
Oh, okay.
Emailing the shipping people and being like, "Why hasn't this guy got his stuff yet? Can you tell me why?" And it's because somebody made a mistake because I backed it twice. I backed the Player's Handbook and then the big one, the Adventurer Bundle. So I got my Player's Handbook, no problem, but I didn't get the Adventurer's Bundle, which comes with all 3 books and like a big map and all that shit. I didn't get the one that actually costs, a shit ton of money. But they're sending it, and I'll be cool with that. But let's see. The objective is to still the hooch in the middle of the trailer park. The names of the weapons I can't say in the chat. Definite trailer park atmosphere. I lived in a trailer park one time, and I will say this. Sometimes it was fun to bust the old lawn chair out and set it on the driveway and just sit there and watch. Because there was always some shady ass shit going on in the trailer park. Hey, what's up?
No,
Still, how
Toby
you doing,
Keith.
man?
Toby Keith wrote a song about the trailer park.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. My favorite song from him though is "I Love This Bar." That's such a good song. Oh yeah, video games, begging your parents for like $2 worth of quarters to go basically throw away at the arcade.
I miss the old arcades.
Yeah,
Those were
it's a
fun
lot of fun,
places.
you know. Or a lot of them when they started having you put the dollar in and it spit out like 5 tokens.
Yeah.
And that was cool too, you know. Play some Centipede, Victory Road, Commando. Like, yeah, good times, man.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of Space War. What's it? Lunar Lander, although I could never land the damn thing. like once or twice. But I spent like hundreds of dollars on Lunar Lander to like succeed once. Somebody made a new version of that actually, like with all like high detail graphics. I saw that on Steam somewhere, but
I
it was
lived
like $50.
by
I
the
was like, I'm
trailer
not
park
gonna.
where the first D&D wizard player lived. Yeah, you are up in that area, aren't you, Bastille? Yeah, if it ain't shady in the trailer park, you ain't living in the trailer park. I'll tell you what. Yep. Yep. I lived in the trailer park and it was absolutely shady. Like every day something was going on, you know? It was just the way it was. Tempest, Gunsmoke, and Galaga. Oh yeah, Galaga. Space
Galaga.
Invaders.
I was also a huge fan. Do you guys remember Gorf? It had the stage. It had like the Space Invader stage, the Galaga stage, and there was two. There was like one that was kind of like Tempest with this swirling, and then there was like at the end they had like the little ship going back and forth. They had to shoot bits off it. That was a classic.
Mm. So that still actually lives near Big Vic. Because I think Big Vic lives in the Twin City area. And in Minnesota, don't you know?
Biggest.
They're eating lutefish and shit like that. Lutefish, which is basically just rotten fish.
Yeah, I'm looking at Drive Thru right now. My old game, I got up to Electrum bestseller by making it pay what you want. I was hoping just to get like reviews, but nobody seems to review if they don't pay for it.
Yeah, I think they might even have a thing where you can't review if you didn't pay for it.
Oh, okay, that might be it. Maybe
So,
I set it to like
yeah.
$1 or something.
So I have Zenithal highlighted this next unit of A Song of Ice and Fire Greyjoy guys. These are called Tideborn somethings or other. Their whole deal is they're basically your solid block infantry. They're the ones that can hold the line because most of your Greyjoy units are raiders. So, you know, having a couple of units that can actually stand toe to toe with enemy infantry is.
Now, are they the sea guys? The ones that were on the island? They're
Yeah,
like mainly naval power? Okay.
yeah, that is not dead. Or you cannot kill that which is already dead or something. And their house motto is "We do not sow." Right. And their unofficial motto is "We pay the iron price." Because they're just raiding everybody all the time, you know? So they don't buy anything. They pay the iron price for everything, which is, you know, the sword. They're the first men. Because you know how they talk about the Andals and the first men and the Valerians? They're related to the original people of Westeros. And eventually they got their asses whipped by the Starks and had to start behaving themselves. Because before that, they're just burning everything on the coast down, all the way down the, like Westeros, the whole western coast. They were just burning everything. And people are just like, these guys are assholes. And they are. One of the leaders, you put him in a unit, and every time you activate the unit, one of the men in the unit dies. Because the leader is just that much of a dick. He's just killing his own men left, right, and center. But the problem is he's really, really powerful. So it's like...
Have you talked about this before?
Euron Greyjoy. Huh?
Have you talked about this before?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was getting some serious deja vu going on here.
No, it's just I have a tendency of when I'm interested in stuff to just have that on my mind.
Gee, I have no idea what you're talking about. I do not understand at all.
Cash rules everything around me. Get the money. Dollar bill, y'all. That's right. We're doing that Wu-Tang. But anyway, Doc's just like, what?
Oh, no, I was looking at
I was doing that Wu-Tang Clan thing. Wu-Tang Financial. You got to diversify your assets, dog. Like, I used to love that. Like when Chappelle did the racial draft.
Oh yeah,
the Chinese took the Wu-Tang Clan, like all of them. So they got the RZA, the Jizza, old dirty bastard.
I like with the Spanish picked Ilya and Gonzalez, and they're all kind of like looking at each other. Like, what
the... The white guy, or no, the black guys took Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
And
for shizzle. Always wanted to say that.
I've always wanted to say that. Yeah, right. Yeah. Goodbye, stir fry. Hello, fried chicken. And then, of course, Charlie Murphy showed up.
Well, I'm going to step out. I'm going to step out for a minute.
Okay.
My dog has to go outside.
Yeah. Charlie Murphy shows up and robs them all.
See you later.
Bill Burr's there, and he's like, I knew this was going to happen. That's why I hid my keys up my ass. So still, Notice he shot the guy below the knee. That means that he can't be charged with attempted murder. Like, oh man, old school Chappelle is just out of control. But
didn't they keep the show going without him for like a season?
I think they tried, but it was like,
why?
One of my favorite seasons is the Tupac episode where he's in the club dancing, and the guy's like, "This is that brand new Tupac song that, like they're trying to act like it's one of his old songs, but they found it and they're playing it. But everything Tupac's rapping about is like modern shit that he was dead way before it happened. And everybody would be dancing, then he'll say something, everybody stops and be like, and in the end, it's like, goodbye, Tupac, rest in peace. And you hear Tupac be like, I will. It's like, what? He even calls Dave Chappelle out in the middle of the song. Like, he's like, go home, Dave. That ain't your wife. Dave Chappelle's leaving. And of course, the black guy that was blind and the leader of the KKK.
Oh, yeah. You want to see my face? I'll show you. No.
Yeah, he pulls the mask up, and one guy's head just explodes. Then in the end, when they do the follow-up, he said he divorced his wife because he couldn't be married to anyone that would, he used a different word, but let's just say he couldn't be married to any white woman that would marry a black guy. He used the very vernacular of that. But, yeah. But anyway, you know what? Violence, I don't remember how old you are, but it is like that weird thing where I'm 53, and every year more and more people I know die.
Yeah,
and it's just because I'm 53. So Robert Smith of The Cure is like my mom's age. If you think about it, right? like all of the rock bands I grew up listening to, they're either dead or on their way. I mean, Keith
Yeah.
Richards will never die, but everyone else, you know.
Yeah,
And
those guys
it's
are like
like
in their 90s now, aren't they? Like the Stones. There's
the Stones, yeah, man, they were like 20 in the 60s.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, you know, and now you see commercials on YouTube where you got Patrick Stewart trying to talk about some charity, and he can barely talk, and
Yeah,
it's just sad because I remember the 80s, you know, when Next Gen come out, and you know, Patrick Stewart was like actually able to talk and stuff, and now he's like just, but you know, that's the way it goes, right? That's the way it goes.
Is that show Picard still on? I've never actually seen it. I have like so
I
little
don't
interest in New
know.
Trek.
I've never seen it either.
I heard one season of it was good.
A lot of times, and maybe this makes me a follower, I listen to reviews from like the Critical Drinker.
Yeah, I like his reviews a lot.
And if he says that's really horrible, then I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not messing with it then.
Yeah, I like his stuff. We pretty much have similar tastes, so
yeah, he's pretty
he hates
solid.
something, I generally am going to hate it too.
He did say that,
and he's very fair. He does like say good things about stuff he obviously does not like when there's something to be said.
Well, he said nothing but good things about the movie Nosferatu. He said the acting was great, the story was great, the whole, you know, Victorian Gothic horror film thing, they nailed it. And apparently it's the young Skarsgård that played Pennywise, plays the vampire, Orlok, Baron Orlok.
Was it Peter Sarsgaard, or there's a couple of them?
It's the young one, whose
very...
eyes are kind of far apart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a young one, 51 here. Just watched Polydorus is a genius. Basil Polydorus, yeah. Conan, RoboCop, yep. And then, of course, if you go old school, you've got it was Sergio Leone and what was it? Something Marconi or something like that.
Yeah, who did the soundtracks?
Did the soundtracks of all those spaghetti westerns, and those things were amazing.
Yeah, like, I love those. I love those westerns.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I'll just listen to like The Ecstasy of Gold or something.
Yeah. You know, I've still yet to watch Once Upon a Time in the West, which is supposedly
it's good.
A masterpiece one.
Once Upon a Time in the West is really good. It's got Charlie Bronson in it, walking around playing on a harmonica, and just a bunch of people shooting each other.
Yeah, and Henry Fonda is like
Fonda's the bad
one role
guy.
is a bad guy.
Yeah,
I've ever seen an interview.
Really bad guy.
Yeah,
he's
I
not
saw
like just Ernio Marconi. Yeah, Enzio. Yeah, those guys, man. And it's so weird because the Italians never had an Old West, and yet they made some of the best westerns ever made.
Yeah, they're hugely
were
popular
copies
in Europe.
Of Japanese movies that had copied westerns.
Yeah, there was a weird back and forth in like the 60s between like the Japanese and like samurai movies and the westerns. They were like almost interchangeable.
Yeah, like Kurosawa, pretty much every movie he made that people say directors stole from to make a western, he would admit he stole the idea from a western, an older western. So it was like the same story, but it was just going back and forth, like you said. And it was like just everything they did. I mean, I can watch Good, Bad, and the Ugly at pretty much any time.
Yeah, those were
amazing. And it's like everyone in that movie is dubbed except for Clint Eastwood, Tukey or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Tuco.
Eli, whatever, and the guy that played Angel Eyes.
Yeah, a lot of those guys didn't speak English or even Italian. They just let everybody speak in their own languages and they dubbed them. And the guy who dubbed them actually would like rewrite dialogue to like a little bit to like make it kind of match the lips as much as he could. It's like,
they did a lot of filming in Spain.
Yeah, it was all shot in Almeria.
Because I guess there's parts of Spain that got that Old West look to them. the deserts and stuff. But
Yeah, I saw a thing with Clint Eastwood. There's somebody asked me if that was like those three movies. It was all supposed to be the same character. He's like, no. He's like, because you're like dressed the same and all. He's like, yeah, those were my clothes. He's like, I brought all my own stuff because they had like no budget, so I just bring all my raw stuff with me when we shot over there. So that's
well,
why.
it's like none of the characters that Clint Eastwood played in those three movies had a name.
Yeah, he had a nickname Blondie.
Like Blondie.
Yeah.
You know, he never had, as Gary Gygax once said, D&D is a Western in tights. I would agree. And I believe in the Dungeon Master's Guide, those old Westerns are part of the recommended viewing. And I think he recommends Louis L'Amour too.
Yeah, and the appendix has some Westerns in there.
And Louis L'Amour, the Sackets and all that shit, those are good books. And they had the one movie with the Sackets, and you had like Tom Selleck playing the guy that fought for the Union, and you had like the other guy was his brother but had fought for the Confederacy, Orlando Sackett and whatever Sackett. But basically somebody screwed over one of the Sackets, so all the other Sackets show up from Kentucky or wherever they were from, and had to put things to rest, because
Robert E. Howard wrote some really good Westerns. And they're funny too, about this character Breckenridge Elkton. They're like, it's all basically the premise of all the stories he's telling, setting the record straight about a story that's going around about him. And this guy's just like this total doofus, but he's this like huge hulking dude.
See, RPG Dad tells you he likes Once Upon a Time in the West. I do too. But
I have to check it out.
Yeah. Doc has not seen it yet. But I just told him, Charles Bronson walking around with a harmonica, being a badass, and Fonda being the most evil bastard in any Western you've ever seen. Just absolutely evil, that guy. And otherwise, it's a typical spaghetti Western,
I saw an interview Henry Fonda did not long after he made the movie, and he's like trying out all these different looks with like beards and stuff. And Leone was like, no, just your regular face. I want people to see you and be like, holy shit, that's Henry Fonda being a bad guy.
Now, my favorite Western, and I don't think it's because I'm biased, I just think it's an amazing Western, is The Outlaw Josie Wells.
I love that movie. That's a fantastic movie.
Because it's such a great like redemption story, and in the end, he ends up making family out of the people that were his enemies, and also living at peace with the Comanche. And of course, that whole scene where he's talking to Ten Bears, his words of life and his words of death. It was just, and that was, I think, Clint Eastwood's first movie he directed.
Oh, was that his first director? He's an amazing director. All the movies he makes are fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Gran Torino. He comes out in the yard and those guys are out there and he's got that M1 Grand. We used to stack cooks like you up 5 high. And the guy's like, what? Oh, my God. This guy's like crazy. Not to be super racist, but when he pulls up on the corner and gets out and he's like, what are you spooks up to? And those guys are like, what? You ever notice how every now and then you meet somebody that you just shouldn't have fucked with? And it's just like, man, he got scarier the older he got. Yeah. It's like the more gritty he got, the less you'd want to mess with him, Because like in his early stuff, Hang 'em High and stuff, he was just such a pretty young guy. But like the older he got, like in Unforgiven and shit like that, he just got gritty. Yeah. just like, ugh. Give you my word of death. Yeah, my word of death is here on my hip, and there in your rifles for all to see. And Ten Bears, there is iron in your words of death, and therefore there must be iron in your words of life. I choose life. Like, You are the Gray Rider who refused to make peace with the Bluecoats. When the one guy walks in and he's like, tells that bounty hunter, you ain't got to do that. And he's like, a guy's got to make a living. 9 ain't much of a living, boy. High Plains Drifter, which is, I stand on this 10 toes down, the original Crow.
Yes, it was a ghost story.
Because he is a ghost. He is a revenant that has come back from the dead to seek vengeance on the people who did him wrong. Oh, Bill Money, yeah. You just shot an unarmed man. Well, he should have armed himself if he's going to get saloon with my friend. Like, yeah. Hard to argue with that logic. I mean, you know.
I don't deserve this. Deserves got nothing to do with it.
Yeah. And then when he walks up, I'm getting ready to come out there. If anyone shoots at me, I'm going to kill him. If I see you, I kill him. Kill you. He like starts, and like he rides out, and the one guys are like, shoot him. The other guys are like, you. You know, and he just rides on out. Solo Mech Warrior Destiny Adventure that's Die Hard in Lyran space. That would be fun. I mean, Jose, I am a huge fan of stealing the basic plot of movies and shit and converting them over to adventures for whichever role-playing games I'm running. And a lot of times, my players don't even notice. Like, I was running Frontier Space, which is kind of like a OSR version of Star Frontiers. And the whole adventure was just like the third Riddick movie. The one where he's on the one world and it starts raining and all those crazy things come up and there's 2 troops of bounty hunters trying to get him and all that shit. I ran that adventure. They had no idea. Had the best time ever. They loved that game, you know? And you can do that. I mean, if you're playing a game with just one guy, why not run Yojimbo or for a few dollars more or whatever they called it when Bruce Willis did it.
Yeah, there are advantages to games if you do wind up in a game with only one player, because you can do a lot of stuff that won't work in other games. Like you like make them a king, make them like some figure of destiny and stuff. It's limiting in some ways, but there are other possibilities open up that you can't really do in a group too. So you can make it work.
100%. And if you're going to play, I have the Blade Runner game from Free League. If you're going to play Blade Runner, you don't want more than 3 players.
Yeah, they just be falling over each other.
Yeah, I mean,
a big group.
I mean, having like 8 players running around trying to kill a replicant, that's a bit of overkill, right? So there are games where, like, if I were going to run Top Secret, that would be 1 or 2 players.
Yeah, Top Secret works better with small groups.
Boot Hill, I could see a solo or a small group.
Yeah, you can go either way with that.
But like when I run AD&D, there's usually like 8 to 10 players, and then henchmen and hirelings and freaking dogs and cats and ferrets and whatever. I mean, it's just like crazy. But because AD&D is so easy for me to run, combats go quick, people die quick, you know. Next thing you know, somebody's hireling is now their character because their character got their skull split in by an orc or something. And you just keep rolling it, you know?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of big troops in like fantasy games.
Oh, yeah. And one thing, at least 3 of the people that play at my table, they always, if they have the money, buy like the trained war dogs. So, like, they're going in the dungeon with their trained war dogs, just sicking them on goblins and shit. And it's like the war dog can kill a goblin. Absolutely. If it runs up at low level and grabs something, it can kill it.
A big mastiff is nothing to sneeze at.
That's you got
beast.
Freaking like a cane corso in studded leather running around, you know? Or what's that Turkish dog that can get up to like 200 pounds?
Oh yeah, I can't remember. I know exactly what you mean, but it's basically a type of mastiff. They're monster dogs.
Yeah, that's High Plains Drifter. He had been a U.S. Marshal, and the criminals bullwhipped him to death, and the whole town just let it happen because they were in on it. So then his revenant came back. That's why when you're watching a movie, there's no one, and all of a sudden you just see him blink in, riding towards the town, and at the very end you see him leaving, and all of a sudden he just vanishes. Right?
Yeah, he's
and
complete
the
bastard
fourth
to
guy,
everyone in town except
the little guy, asks him, "Mister, what's your name?" And he just says, "You know my name," and rides off. So
yeah, and he was the only one he was decent to in the town because he was the only one who was like
repentant
decent-
for what they
decent.
had done.
Yeah.
The little guy didn't like it, but what could he do? Nothing. But yeah, painted the town red, welcome to hell. You know, essayed the one chick because she had betrayed him. So, like humiliated everyone, banged the one guy's wife in his hotel while he was there. I mean, it's like he was doing everything he could to get any of the town folk to like do something, and they wouldn't do it. They're terrified of him. Went into the freaking general store and took all those blankets and gave them to the natives and told them it was free.
Yeah.
And gave that one little native kid like a whole jar full of freaking bubble gum or whatever it was. So, yeah, that was a good movie. What's up, Leth? How you doing, bro? Where you been?
Hey, Lef.
Been at evening church services? Yeah, Pell Riders, another good one.
Great one.
And it's another Revenant one because when he takes his shirt off, you see all the bullet holes in his chest coming out the back.
Yeah, that's a lot of people think that's like a like sort of an unofficial sequel to Hang 'em High.
It might be. And you are 100% right, off grid. He cucked the shit out of that whole town. Like everyone in that town, he disrespected in the most disrespectful way. You know what I mean? Like whatever was the worst thing he could do, that's what he did. But they all deserved it because they didn't want the marshal to say about the gold on federal land. So they let those bandits beat him to death with a bullwhip. And him laying out there in the street begging for help. It was like, nah, you get what you get. You know what I mean? Everything he did to them, they deserved. And, yeah. Welcome to hell, boys. Just been chilling. Well, chilling's good, man. Sometimes you got to take a day to chill. Nothing wrong with that, lad.
Know what I haven't seen in the longest time I want to see again? The comedies he did. You remember Any Which Way But Loose and Any Which Way But Ben? Haven't
Right
seen
Turn,
those since I was a
Clyde.
kid. Yeah. Boom.
Freaking giant orangutan. And he's like an over-the-road truck driver that was also like a bare-knuckle boxer or some shit. Yep. He had some great lines in some of those old movies too, like in Dirty Harry when he's like, "Now what you're asking yourself is, did I shoot 5 times or 6?"
And that was Garrick from Deep Space Nine.
Yeah,
Was the guy who said that to.
Yep. Do you feel lucky, punk? Do you? It's just like, damn. That's just like brutal, man. Hardcore. But that was back, when they made movies that had like freaking, men in them. 2 Mules was good. Not one of my favorites, but definitely a good one. A movie I like, and Henry Fonda, I think, is High Noon, where Charles Bronson is got out of prison, and he's heading back to that town to kill Henry Fonda. And they're playing that song, "Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling," and all that shit.
Is that the one where John Wayne is like the old drunk gunfighter?
No. John Wayne as the old drunk gunfighter is called True Grit. It's the one where the little girl hires him to kill the guy that killed her dad.
I
And
gotta
they did a
say,
remake of it with like
with the dude,
the dude. Yeah, exactly.
I actually thought that was better.
And it had like Matt Damon in it as the Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, for a remake, they just hit beat for beat, and it was good. The actors were great. You know, Rooster Cogburn, who was always getting in trouble, even though he's a marshal for like shooting people. And they'd be like, "Did you have to shoot that guy?" Well, yeah. But I mean, that guy just liked to shoot people, though. And he had gotten in trouble because he had rode with like Bill Quantrill or some shit during the Civil War, and now he's just like a bitter old drunk. So, yep. My favorite John Wayne movie, though, of all time is definitely The Quiet Man. And that might be because I used to think I'm Irish, and it might be because, I don't know, I kind of like the whole story. Like
I
where
only
he kills the
vaguely
guy, he
remember
kills
that.
the guy in the boxing ring, so then he quits boxing and moves to Ireland because that's where his family was originally from. And then, of course, he gets with Scarlett O'Hara and decides he wants to marry her, but she's a giant pain right in his ass. And then nothing gets better until he beats the shit out of her brother. Well, actually, I don't know who won that fight.
Yeah, I saw that when I was very, very young.
Yeah, I mean,
I only vaguely remember it.
John Wayne did pretty good, but Scarlett O'Hara's brother, he it's not like he ever got knocked out. I mean, they fought for like 3 hours all over the whole damn county. They even in the movie had to take a break at the pub to drink some Guinness and catch your breath, and then like, "Are you ready?" And they started again, man.
Oh, I was thinking of the man who shot Liberty Valance.
Oh yeah. 310 to Yuma was good too, though. 310 to Yuma was a good one.
Never saw the original. I saw the Russell Crowe remake.
And another movie that was really good and is kind of a Western, guys, is Bone Tomahawk. It's like if the Wild West met Call of Cthulhu. And that shit is good. But be prepared if you go in to watch it. Just be prepared. That's all I'm telling you. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but be ready for it because it's going to.
Isn't that a Kurt Russell movie?
Yeah, it's got a lot of great actors in it, but it's the one where, you know, people are getting kidnapped and whatnot, and they go out to figure it out and just shit. Like I said, it's like if H.P. Lovecraft wrote a Western. This would be that Western. And I highly, highly, highly support it. Cowboy Bebop, well, sci-fi Western for sure.
Never seen that.
The anime is great. The TV show was the worst thing I'd ever.
Was it a show or a movie they made?
They made like a little series and like a mini series, and it was horrible. But the anime is a classic, like one of the best animes ever made. Firefly, another one that was really good. Yeah. And also a Western mixed with sci-fi. But hey, you know, that's what Traveler is. The actual Traveler role-playing game is very nearly a Western by default.
Yeah. Firefly very much comes across like a Traveler game.
It's like I've heard people ask that question. Did Joss Whedon play Traveler? Or I've heard people say this was based on Joss Whedon's Traveler game. I don't know if any of that's true, but yeah, it comes across.
Yeah, that was really the only Joss Whedon thing I liked. I wasn't really, I was never like a Buffy fan or anything like that.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. I was never a huge Buffy fan. I had friends who were, but I was always like, yeah, you know.
Yeah,
whatever.
my one complaint, like Joss Whedon writes some really great dialogue, but somebody pointed out to me, and I can't unhear it now. Is like, take your favorite Joss Whedon line, and is there any character that you couldn't imagine saying it? And I was like, yeah, it's all kind of like, it's all interchangeable. Everybody is kind of exactly the same in that way with the banter and stuff. There's not like a lot of differentiation. And Firefly is one of those things. Firefly is probably as good as it was because there was only a season of it.
Well, The problem is just the executives wanted to kill it. And one of the things I heard was because um, the crew were all like basically rebels against the central power, and so, and also he named a lot of the side characters after like Civil War generals and
Yeah,
shit. And I guess the Fox executives in New
rub some
York
people
were
the
like
wrong
not
way.
happy with that.
Yeah, because I never saw it while it was on. I remember seeing some of the few commercials. I got the impression it was like a comedy show, the way they presented it, like on the
Well,
trailers and
plus
stuff.
they played it out of order and they
They
changed
kept
what
changing the
day it was
time.
on.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
It's like
they
they did
screwed up.
everything they could to kill that show before it could get any sort of. Yeah, the thing is, Serenity's the final chapter. What most people don't know is there's a series of comics between the end of Firefly and the beginning of Serenity that actually explain how they got where they are. But I would say Star Wars, not trying to be super disagreeable, but I would say Star Wars is more of a fantasy in
Yeah,
space.
it's a
You've got a dark wizard, an evil knight, a bad kingdom, and then you've got the young farm boy who is going to learn magical powers from the old guy who's going to die. I mean, if you've ever read the Aragon books or watched Willow, it's the same stories as Star Wars all the way down the line. It hits every single beat.
yeah. Well, George Lucas basically said he sat there with the Joseph Campbell Hero with a Thousand Faces and just like beat for beat made it
Yeah,
classic. Yeah.
because that is the what do they call it? There's an actual diagram about
The hero's journey with
the hero's journey. Yeah, and in all of those, in Willow, Aragon, Star Wars, etc., it always starts out with the nobody farm boy, the call to action, the evil empire, and it just goes around the circle. It even adds the scruffy but good-hearted guy that comes
yeah.
into the life to help you out. Of course, in a lot of them he dies, but he don't have to. But the mentor character always has to die in like some
Pretty
really
early on.
hardcore way. But in Willow, he didn't. But then again, in Willow, he just said, "Catch you later," and you never. Well, no, you had what's her name, Brazil or whatever, the girl or the old woman. He got off the island.
Yeah. Yeah, Willow wasn't bad.
And
It didn't make enough to. They decided to justify a sequel, so they just kind of let that go.
I don't know, but they made the TV series, and it was so bad they removed it from the streaming platform.
Yeah, I've heard it was horrendous.
Yeah. Well, Laura Dannon was a black chick with red hair, and in a lesbian relationship with someone else. And Mad Mardigan, it turned out, was a deadbeat dad that had left Sorsha. Blah blah blah. He was a scumbag, and Sorsha was kind of the queen, and it was just like,
All the usual.
Netflix shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
supposedly they
space
had
opera, no real science.
a Conan show that was going to be on. I think it was Netflix, and they decided it was too toxic masculinity and
Yep.
killed it at the last minute.
Yep.
Which,
they were
I'm
thinking
glad
about
they-
doing a
I'm glad they
Conan
did.
series.
I'm glad they did because they would have just destroyed it anyway.
Yeah, I don't trust them to have done it right. But they were going to do a Conan series, and they declared it being too toxically masculine.
Yeah,
So
I
they
haven't seen
decided
the
to
Dune thing. I'm not really a big fan of adding stuff to Dune because it's kind of because just the way it's constructed, it's almost pointless.
Some people are going to say I'm a bigot, but I like Dune 1 and 2. I hate that they made Liet Kynes a black woman. But I would have hated if they'd made her any kind of woman, because Liet Kynes was a man and described in the book as having gray but somewhat sandy blonde hair. And he was Chani, who was a redhead's dad.
Yeah. Yeah, that
And
they
boy,
completely
oh boy,
removed
that
relationship.
woman they got to play Channy is such a plank of freaking wood.
I hate Zendaya. She's awful. She's just
It's like, how
absolutely
does she
awful.
even get into movies? She is
What
the
is she? Is she a
worst.
singer or something, or a model or some
I
bullshit?
don't know what she did before she got famous, but she is absolutely the worst.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about Timothy Chalamet, and sometimes he's okay, and sometimes he comes off like, "Hey, dude," and it just
In Dune, I thought that Chalamet did okay. Chalamet did okay. I didn't like that they did the whole thing with Jameis, because Jameis was a great character in the books and very specifically described in the books. And I think if you're going to do something based on literature, you should not change things. You know, if they describe Jameis as being a tall, lithe, muscular, you know, kind of Arabic looking guy with short cropped black hair, that's how you make him. You don't change shit. I hate how they change shit. And that would be for anything, though. If they come out with the new Zulu Dawn and all the Zulus were like Asians or blonde hair, North European, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, what do you mean Shaka Zulu is getting played by Ryan Gosling? I like Ryan Gosling, but this is crazy, right? Like Netflix did when they did the Achilles Battle of Troy thing, and they made Achilles that bald black dude. It's like Achilles. He's Greek, and he's described as having wavy blonde hair and green eyes. The hell are you doing? You know, the new Dune has Paul as the kid trying to push the sect to help his mom's agenda, the false prophet. Well, he kind of was, though.
Yeah, Paul is.
Benny
Yeah,
Gesserit did that.
yeah, a lot of people don't get this about dude. Paul is the villain of Dune. He's the bad guy in the end. And the great thing about the story is it invites you to make excuses for him the way he's doing for himself the whole time. Because you want to like him because his dad was a good guy, and you kind of understand why he's pissed. But he goes totally off the deep end. He like starts this huge like war, kills billions of people to get even with two guys
More than
and get what
Billy.
he feels that he is owed. Paul is the bad guy in that
When he
story.
unleashes the jihad on the Imperium, yeah, trillions die, worlds burn.
Yeah, and of course he's like, "Oh, it's unavoidable." I can't. No, it's unavoidable for that to happen with him getting his revenge. Is the thing.
Right. That was thing is every future he saw, it was either that happened or he died.
Yeah, so he's like, it was only necessary in that he was going to get what he wanted.
Right. So, I mean, I liked them. I thought they were filmed very well. They did get the technology right. They did get the tech right. The ornithopters and everything were good.
I thought it was paced very badly, especially the second one.
I didn't like how Zendaya as Channy was always like super doubtful of Paul, because in the book, she like fawned over him. She practically
was totally in his camp.
Yeah, totally 100%.
Yeah, I don't know.
In the movie, they try to make her out like she's doubtful, but in the book, she's 100% down.
Yeah, I heard in the third part they're going to make her like the primary antagonist, and I don't know how you do that and keep it remotely close to the story, because the whole story is around, like him trying to keep her alive.
Well, the thing is, with the second movie, they went too far. They've already had the duel. Fate is dead. He's already taken over the Empire. He's already married Erelon. So the only thing they could show in the third book would be the Fremen leaving Arrakis and burning everything to shit. Like, so how's she supposed to be a thing?
Yeah, I don't see how
they went too far. The battle between, they should have paced it way different. The second movie should have been all about the war, and then the third movie should have been when he duels Fade and all the other political shit.
Yeah.
But the only thing
it goes like pretty well for the first like 3/4, and it was like kind of like, oh shit, we got to wrap this up.
Yeah.
And then they just like speed through the whole ending. It was
really and it is no bueno. It's no bueno. It's like They did
Yeah.
some weird shit too, like those trees, and the one guy's watering them, and he's like,
Oh,
"These
yeah.
are sacred trees," and it's like they
Yeah, in the
weren't.
book, they hated those. They're like
Yeah, they hated those
symbol
freaking
of
trees. The
oppression.
Harkonnen put them there specifically to be dicks,
Yeah.
you know. But in the movie, they made the Harkonnens the ones that burned them down.
Yeah, I
Whereas,
think they went too far with the Harkonnens, dude. They made them just too comic booky.
well, yeah, because Baron Vladimir Harkonnen was a flouncy, pompous, curly, red-headed guy who was super into lady boys and also young boys that he would oftentimes drug and take advantage of. Um, and he was given to his appetites, whether it was sexual or food or whatever. And he always dressed colorful and he was really flamboyant. Whereas
Yeah,
Raban was pretty much just a big muscle head with no brains.
yeah. The Baron isn't like a psychopath in the books. He's just completely amoral. It's just
Right.
whatever I need to do, I need to do.
Right. Yeah, the psychopath in the books was the Baron's Mentat.
Yeah.
That guy
Piter,
was crazy as shit.
yeah.
He was absolutely nuts. What was his name?
Piter de Vries.
Piter de Vries. Yeah, he was crazy. And then Fade was pretty much like the Baron. He was just amoral.
Yeah, he just, what do I got to do to win?
You know, there were no limits for him.
Yeah.
Like he'd go into the arena, he'd kill a bunch of slaves. That was awesome. Whatever, you know. And also, Fade had that Harkonnen red hair, and the other one that had that Harkonnen red hair was Lady Jessica, because she was the Baron's daughter. Too weird for me to appreciate, and I really respect Stephen Molyneux slamming the whole franchise starting with Frank Herbert. I don't know. I've only read like the original couple books, and I liked it, but yeah.
Yeah, I read up through God Emperor, and then I started reading Heretics, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm done. I think
Pretty much. That's my experience too. It was pretty much like, okay, you know, Leto turned into a worm.
Yeah, the 85 Dune. I mean, there's a lot of problems with it, but it's a cool movie in of itself.
I'm getting ready to be. One thing about the 85 Dune is David Lynch made so much shit up, but some of the shit he made up, Frank Herbert liked so much that he made it canon.
Yeah, I didn't like the sound thing, but
No, the sound thing was dumb. I don't know why he was into that, but the folding space was not in the books.
Yeah, he adapted.
They literally jumped through space like in Traveler. But Dave Lynch, for some reason, was all like, no, they fold space, the traveling without blah, blah, blah. And when Herbert heard it, he's like, oh, yeah. And it became canon that the navigators literally could just fold space. Anyway, it's been a little over 2 hours. I've got a lot of stuff to do. Plus, my wife has cooked us something to eat.
Excellent.
So I'm going to take off, guys.
Okay, it was good seeing you, James.
It was good seeing you, Doc, and everyone else who showed up. It's always a pleasure. And we will see you when we see you.
Take care, all.
Yep. 85 Dune did have the better soundtrack, though. I think it was Toto or Asia or whoever did it. It was good.